I'm Caroline Solly and I'm a local landowner and farmer, and I've invited the Fifth Continent onto my land to do a metal detecting and all sorts project really. Well, initially Fifth Continent were looking for people with ditches that might need restoration or nature work done on them to conserve the heritage around the marsh here. And we have a number of ditches that they're looking to actually reconnect back up so that the network is now recomplete again. Some of these ditches got filled in or damaged over hundreds of years. So they're now looking at a project to do that, and as part of that they came along and said, actually we think there might be an old building left underneath the grounds here. We've looked at some old maps, could we come along and do some archaeological work as well?
Today we're at Solly Farm and we're doing an archaeological survey of the field to see if we can pick up the footprint of a building that was believed to be here in the past. Probably a farmstead. We're looking at a farmstead. We've done a bit of archive research going back, looking through some of the old maps, and we know that there was a building here previously. We don't know how old it was yet, but we're trying to locate where it was within the field.
They're a great group. They're always telling you what they found or what's going on, so it's really interesting, and it's a nice way of really understanding what's under your feet.
We know that there's a building there because we've got it on the maps already, the tithe map, and then this is just going to hopefully give us a bit more detail about the size of the building and perhaps how well it survived under the topsoil. So how is it being well robbed out, or is there anything sort of structural left of it? So this should give us a bit of a better idea about how much of the building is left. We do these sort of surveys quite a lot, and then obviously I do a lot of community projects, working a bit with Lucy and obviously on my own ones. But we do a lot of sort of surveys with volunteers.
I'm really keen to know the history of the site. We are on a World War II radar station, so we initially thought that most of the historic stuff would be to do with that, and then very interestingly something came up that obviously this land's been reclaimed over several centuries, that there was some old existing manor house or something on this part of the land.
Do people want to come and see the results? So you've definitely got that, I think, which you can see on the tithe map, so some sort of boundary ditch or fence line there, and then obviously you've got the building in the middle. Because it is a building, and because magnetometry is brilliant over buildings, I think you're actually seeing, we know the building's in there, yep. And what we're actually seeing is probably the demolition rubble over the top, which is making it look more distorted than it would if you were looking at maybe just a feature cut into the ground, like a ditch or something, or a pit, because you're looking at building rubble. And the machine won't like building rubble. I think the building is actually in here. You've got another building down here, and then you've got the rubble over the top.
It almost looks as if you've got a mirror image there.
To there, yeah.
It's almost like a broken ditch or something.
Well, I mean, sometimes obviously these buildings have replaced earlier buildings, so you could even have a smaller medieval building on the site with a ditch around it. I think most Roman villas have got Iron Age settlement underneath them, and when you do a survey of Roman villas, you'll often see some lovely big ring ditches underneath them. So we're looking at it sort of that way. All data collections worked well, so because that's how the results will. If you've got a nice even peak like that, that's a good result. If it's all higgledy-piggledy.
So you did well then, Andrew?
Well, it worked all right. It's all down to the crew doing the gridding.
So this is an initial survey, an initial geophysical survey. There are further steps we can do to try and refine where we want to search. So the next step would be to do a resistivity survey, probably, which will give us a clearer picture of a smaller area. And then going forward from that, maybe we'll do some test pitting or trial trenches to see if we can find the actual boundary.
I'm John Beaumont, and I'm here digging this trench here. We started with this stone here just sticking out of the grass, and we were curious to know where it went to and what it was. We very quickly uncovered some brickwork. with some mortar, and as we went further down we actually discovered it's a well. The well is down there. It's only about so deep where you can hit the actual the level of the water, and as I think that is a capping on the top to once the well went out of use. There's still a lot of debris around it, a lot of debris including food debris in particular. The feeling is, and it's only just conjecture at the moment, is these two corners are original. There may have been something on the top, hence this mortar, we're not sure, because there's no mortar on the underneath of that, so that wasn't necessarily cemented to the brickwork. And we're now just expanding out a little bit to see if we can find any kind of surface.
So this is our third day of our excavation here, and on the first 2 days we managed to find 2 of the corners of the building and 2 of the walls. So it's really important for us. We can work out roughly where the third corner is, but we really want to try and find this 4th corner of the building so we can see the extent of it.
We found a substantial part of the building and a substantial part of the outline, but we seem to have lost the final corner. There is a distinct mark and square shows up on the res that we did, but the 4th corner has disappeared somewhere, whether it's been robbed out or whether it's been dug up in the past and destroyed.
Okay, so this rather strange looking machine is a DGPS. It's a Leica system, and its primary use is to provide very accurate location data, and it enables archaeologists to draw features that are in the ground. So we can locate things down to 5mm, and we can then draw those features very, very accurately and overlay them on a map, an Ordnance Survey map. It's quite a simple piece of kit in terms of its composition. You have a display screen, a keypad, and this up here is the antenna. This connects to a satellite system, a GPS satellite system, and it also runs in conjunction with the 4G mobile network. So it's super accurate. It's very expensive. This particular piece of kit cost about £15,000, and it was bought by the Kent Archaeological Society for use throughout the county for all groups. And this one is about 12 months old, and already it's done upwards of about 50 survey jobs. So it's well used, which it should be. And it's enhancing and improving the recording of archaeological sites for volunteer groups and projects throughout the county. So it's probably the best £15,000 the KAS, Kent Archaeological Society, has ever spent.
So at the moment our plan is to wrap this up and to move on to the fines processing. That doesn't mean that we won't ever come back here. There's still certainly a lot more that we could excavate and many more questions that we could look into. But for the purposes of this project, we're going to wrap things up here. I mean, we could spend months excavating here and learn lots of wonderful things. The volunteers are the most important part of this sort of work. We couldn't be doing this without them. I'm just one heritage officer leading it, but everybody else that's working on this is a volunteer. And they come from all different sort of levels. We've got experienced archaeologists here that are volunteering their time. And we've also got people that have never picked up a trowel in their life. And they're all equally as important.
Being a volunteer gives me the chance to meet other people, other like-minded people, more to the point. As I said, I enjoy being out in the open. I enjoy messing about in the mud. I enjoy a challenge. No archaeological site is simple from day one. It tends to be that you find what you find, and hopefully that will give you the answers that you were looking for in the first place.
In a sense, the volunteer archaeologists are almost like an essential workforce for projects like this to actually be completed. without which we wouldn't know various aspects of heritage within the landscape. So their input is vital and, in my view, often overlooked.
So after today, well, throughout the course of today, we're hoping to find that fourth corner, record everything we found so far. This means taking photos, drawing it, pinging in the location with the GPS so that we know exactly where the walls are. And then we need to backfill so that when we leave, it's like we were never here.
You know the dig's over and you move on and you fill it in, and that's the best thing for it, actually. That's what a lot of people overlook, is that the archaeology in the ground, the best thing for it is to be covered. If you expose it for too long, it disintegrates and you lose it. So backfilling is actually quite good.
I'm always looking for more volunteers, particularly those that want to come and help out with finds processing, which is the next stage of this project. All the details are on our website, which is fifthcontinent.org.